Good afternoon. As we stand on the brink of 2025, transformational leadership is more challenging and more critical than ever before. The landscape is shifting rapidly with technology, work dynamics, and societal expectations all evolving at breakneck speed. Today, I want to discuss the challenges that transformational leaders like yourselves will face as we move into 2025. The pace of change in our world is accelerating, and while the opportunities are vast, so too are the challenges. Over the next 30 or so minutes, I'll discuss the top 5 challenges that I believe will define transformational leadership in the coming year and perhaps beyond. These challenges are not just technical or operational, they strike at the very heart of what it means to lead. To survive and thrive in this environment, we need to rethink, relearn, and reimagine our approach to leadership. But this won't just be an overview of what's to come. We'll explore what you as leaders need to consider and action to face these challenges and overcome them with confidence and success. So let's get into it. Challenge number 1, balancing technological disruption with human-centric leadership. We live in a time where technology evolves faster than we can keep up. AI, automation, and other digital tools promise efficiency, but they also bring challenges. Chief amongst them, how do we keep the human element alive in our organisations? Let's start by acknowledging the real fear that many employees feel when faced with new technology. We've all heard the stories, entire departments being replaced by AI, jobs being automated away. It's easy for people to feel like they're becoming obsolete. As leaders, it's our job to counter this narrative. The first step is education. Employees need to understand that technology isn't here to replace them, but to enhance their capabilities. This requires a shift in mindset from viewing technology as a threat to seeing it as a tool for empowerment. Consider holding regular training sessions that not only teach the technical aspects of new tools, but also demonstrate how these tools can make employees' jobs easier, more interesting, and even more creative. For example, a large manufacturing company, the introduction of robotics was initially met with resistance. Workers feared that these machines would take over their jobs. The leadership team responded by launching an upskilling program that trained workers to operate and even program these robots. The result? Employees didn't just keep their jobs, they took on more complex and interesting roles, and productivity soared. Next, let's talk about transparency and inclusion. When introducing new technology, involve your teams in the decision-making process right from the start. Seek their input on what tools would be the most useful and how they should be implemented. This not only helps in choosing the right technology, but also gives employees a sense of ownership over the change. Consider this. How often do you engage your teams in discussions about technology? Do they feel heard, or do they feel like changes are being imposed on them? Leaders who fail to involve their teams risk fostering resentment and resistance. Now, let's not overlook the ethical dimensions. As we increasingly rely on AI and data and analytics, we must consider issues like privacy, fairness, and bias. These technologies can sometimes unintentionally reinforce existing inequalities, such as when AI-driven hiring tool favors certain demographic groups over others. Leaders need to be vigilant about these risks and take proactive steps to mitigate them. To do this, establish clear ethical guidelines for the use of technology in your organisation. Consider forming an ethics committee or task force to review technologies before they're implemented. Encourage a culture of questioning. Make it okay for employees to raise concerns about how technology is being used. Lastly, let's talk about feedback. Technology should never be a set it and forget it solution. Once implemented, regularly gather feedback from all of your teams on how the new tools are being used and working for them. Are there unexpected challenges? Are there ways to improve? This ongoing dialogue ensures that technology remains a servant of the organisation, not its master. In summary, balancing technological disruption with human-centric leadership requires education, transparency, ethical vigilance, and a commitment to ongoing feedback. By taking these steps, you can create a workplace where technology and human talent work hand in hand to drive innovation and success. Let's move on to challenge number 2, navigating the quicksand of hybrid work models. Hybrid work is now a permanent feature of all our professional lives, but it's anything but straightforward. The challenge here is to manage a dispersed workforce without losing the cohesion, the culture, and the communication that are essential for success. Let's start by examining the potential pitfalls of hybrid work. When some employees are in the office and others are remote, it's easy for the remote workers to feel disconnected. They miss out on the spontaneous conversations, the informal networking, and sometimes critical decision-making moments that happen in the office. This can lead to feelings of isolation, lower engagement, and even a sense of being out of sight, out of mind. So how can leaders address this? The first step is to ensure that remote employees have equal access to opportunities. This means rethinking how you communicate, how you run meetings, and even how you make decisions. One practical approach is to adopt a remote-first mindset. This doesn't mean that remote workers is more important, but that you design your processes with remote employees in mind. For example, when holding meetings, ensure that all participants, whether they're in the office or remote, have an equal voice. This might involve using video conferencing tools that allow for easy participation, encouraging remote workers to speak up and actively solicit their input. Some companies have adopted a policy where everyone, even those in the office, join meetings from their own computers to level up the playing field. Next, let's talk about culture. Maintaining a strong company culture is one of the biggest challenges in a hybrid work model. Culture isn't just about the values written on a poster, it's about the daily interactions and shared experiences that make people feel connected to an organisation. One way to strengthen culture in a hybrid model is through intentional team building activities. This could be as simple as virtual coffee breaks or more structured events like online team challenges. The goal is to create a shared experience that reinforces the company's values and brings people together regardless of where they're working. But culture also needs to be visible and lived. Leaders play a crucial role here. You need to model the behaviours and attitudes you want to see throughout the organisation. This means being intentional about how you communicate, recognising and celebrating achievements equally for both remote and in-office employees, and ensuring that your leadership team is accessible to everyone. Let's consider communication more broadly. In a hybrid model, over-communication is better than under-communication. Information silos can easily develop, so leaders need to be proactive in sharing information and ensuring that everyone is on the same page. Regular updates, virtual town halls, and open forums where employees can ask questions and share feedback are all useful tools. Now, let's talk about performance management. In a hybrid work model, traditional metrics like hours worked or physical presence become less relevant. Leaders need to focus on outcomes. This is what's being achieved rather than how or where it's being done. This requires a shift in mindset from micromanaging to trust-based leadership. But trust isn't something that you can demand. It has to be earned. This means setting clear expectations, providing the necessary resources and support, and then giving your team the autonomy to deliver. Regular check-ins focused on progress, challenges and support needs rather than micromanaging tasks can help maintain accountability without eroding trust. And finally, don't forget about the well-being of your team. hybrid work can blur the boundaries between work and personal life, leading to a burnout if not managed properly. Leaders need to be aware of this and take proactive steps to promote work-life balance. This might mean setting clear guidelines for when employees are expected to be online, encouraging the use of PTO, and offering mental health resources. In conclusion, navigating the quicksand of hybrid work requires remote-first mindset, intentional culture building, strong communication, and output-based performance management. By focusing on these areas, you can create a hybrid work environment that's not only effective, but also engaging and inclusive. Challenge number 3, driving purpose in an age of scepticism. Purpose is a powerful motivator, but in 2025, it's not enough to simply declare your organization's purpose. We're living in an age of skepticism where employees and consumers alike demand proof that your purpose is more than just words. So let's start by understanding why purpose matters. People want to work for and buy from companies that stand for something. A strong, authentic purpose can attract top talent, foster loyalty, and even drive financial performance. But, and it's a big but, if your purpose isn't genuine and it's not backed up by action, it can do more harm than good. Consider the case of a global retail giant that committed to sustainability, but was later exposed for continuing to source products from suppliers with poor environmental and labour practices. The backlash was swift, damaging not only their reputation, but also customer trust and employee morale. To avoid this, leaders need to ensure that purpose is deeply embedded in every aspect of the organisation. This begins with alignment. Your purpose must be aligned with your business strategy and operations. It's not just about having a catchy mission statement. It's about making sure that every decision, every policy, and every action reflects that purpose. Here's a practical strategy that you might want to consider. Start by conducting a purpose audit. Examine every part of your organisation: operations, supply chain, customer interactions, employee policies, to see if they all align with your stated purpose. Are there areas where your actions don't match your words? If so, this is where you need to focus your actions. Another key consideration is employee engagement. Your employees are your best ambassadors for your organization's purpose, but only if they believe in it. Leaders need to ensure that employees understand and are genuinely engaged with the company's purpose. This might involve regular communication about how their work contributes to the larger mission, recognizing and rewarding purpose-driven behaviors, and providing opportunities for employees to get involved in purpose-related initiatives. Let's talk about transparency. In an age of skepticism, transparency is your ally. Be open about both your successes and your challenges. If you're not where you want to be in terms of your purpose goals, admit it. Outline what steps you're going to take to improve and invite feedback from your stakeholders. This kind of honesty can actually enhance credibility and strengthen trust. Stakeholder engagement is another critical aspect. Purpose isn't just about what happens inside your organization. It's about your impact on the wider world. Engage with your customers, your suppliers, and the community that you work within to understand their expectations and concerns. Use this input to shape your purpose strategy and ensure that it's relevant and meaningful to those you serve. Consider the long-term perspective. Purpose isn't a short-term campaign, it's a long-term commitment. Leaders need to think beyond the next quarter or the next year. How will your purpose evolve over the next decade? What legacy do you want to leave? By thinking long-term, you ensure that purpose remains a driving force for your organization well into the future. Finally, let's talk about measurement. You can't manage what you don't measure. Develop metrics that track your progress towards your purpose goals. This might include environmental impact, social responsibility, employee engagement, customer satisfaction, and more. Use these metrics to hold yourself accountable and to demonstrate your commitment to your stakeholders. So in summary, to drive purpose in an age of scepticism, leaders must ensure that purpose is authentic, deeply embedded, and aligned with your organization's strategy and operations. Engage your employees, be transparent with your stakeholders, think long-term, and measure your progress. By doing so, you can build a purpose-driven organization that not only survives, but thrives in the years to come. Challenge number 4, managing the paradox of innovation and stability. Innovation is the lifeblood of any successful organization, but it often comes at the expense of stability. This paradox, how to innovate whilst maintaining the core stability of your business, is one of the most challenging aspects of leadership in 2025. Let's start by acknowledging that innovation is not optional. In today's fast-paced world, if you're not innovating, you're falling behind. But too much innovation, or innovation without a clear strategy, can lead to chaos. It can disrupt operations, confuse customers, and demoralize employees. So how do you strike the right balance? The first step is to create a safe space for innovation. This might mean setting up innovation labs or dedicated teams that can experiment with new ideas without disrupting day-to-day operations. These teams should operate with the agility and flexibility of a startup, but within the safety net of a larger organization. But innovation needs to be more than just isolated experiments. It needs to be integrated into the broader organization. Leaders must establish clear processes for scaling successful innovations. This means having a roadmap that outlines how an idea moves from concept to implementation and ensuring that all stakeholders are aligned on the journey. Communication is crucial here. If your teams don't understand why you're innovating or how these innovations will impact them, you risk creating resistance or confusion. Leaders need to be transparent about the innovation process, regularly update teams on progress, and explain how these new ideas will benefit the organization as a whole. Let's talk about risk management. Innovation inherently involves risk, but leaders need to ensure that these risks are calculated and managed. Encourage a culture where taking smart risks is celebrated, but also where failures are quickly identified and lessons are learned. This requires a mindset change from seeing failure as a negative to viewing it as a learning opportunity. One practical approach is to adopt a fail fast, learn faster mentality. Encourage teams to prototype and test ideas quickly. If something doesn't work, move on and apply the lessons learned to the next attempt. This approach reduces the time and resources spent on projects that aren't going to succeed and increases the overall pace of innovation. Another consideration is the impact of innovation on your existing business. Leaders need to be mindful of how new ideas will integrate or disrupt current operations. This requires clear prioritization, deciding which areas of the business can afford to be disrupted and which need to remain stable. Not every part of your business needs to be transformed at once. Employee engagement is also key. Innovation can be exciting, but it can also be unsettling. Leaders need to ensure that employees feel involved in the innovation process and understand how it will impact their work. This might involve setting up a cross-functional innovation teams where employees from different parts of the organization collaborate on new ideas. And finally, let's talk about sustaining innovation over the long term. Innovation isn't a one-time project. It's a continuous process. Leaders need to create a culture where innovation is not just encouraged, but expected. This means fostering an environment where creativity is valued, where employees are given the time and the resources to explore new ideas, and where innovation is recognized and rewarded. So in conclusion, managing the paradox of innovation and stability requires creating safe spaces for innovation, clear communication, calculated risk management, prioritization, employee engagement, and a culture of continuous improvement. By focusing on these areas, leaders can drive innovation while maintaining the stability needed to keep the business running smoothly. The fifth and final challenge, cultivating resilience in the face of constant change. If there's one thing we've learned in recent years, it's that change is constant and often unpredictable. The ability to cultivate resilience, both personal and organisational, is perhaps the most critical leadership challenge of 2025. Let's start by defining what we mean by resilience. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back from setbacks. It's about anticipating change, adapting to it, and even thriving in the face of it. Resilient organisations are those that can weather storms, learn from them, and emerge stronger. But how do you build resilience into your organisation? The first step is to foster a culture of continuous learning. In a rapidly changing world, the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn is essential. Leaders need to encourage a mindset where learning is valued, where mistakes are seen as opportunities for growth, and where employees are given the tools and resources they need to develop new skills. One practical strategy is to implement regular learning and development programs. These can be formal training sessions, but they can also include more informal learning opportunities, such as mentoring, peer-to-peer learning, or even time set aside for employees to explore new ideas in technologies. The key is to create an environment where learning is part of the daily routine, not just an occasional event. Another critical aspect of resilience is adaptability. In a world of constant change, the ability to pivot quickly is crucial. Leaders need to build flexibilities into their organisational structures and processes so that when change comes, whether it's a new market opportunity, a disruptive technology, or an unexpected crisis, the organisation can respond quickly and effectively. This might mean decentralising decision-making so that teams on the ground have the autonomy to make quick decisions. It might also involve scenario planning, where you prepare for different potential futures and develop contingency plans. The goal is to create an organisation that can pivot and adapt without getting bogged down in bureaucracy. So what's the role of leadership in fostering resilience? Leaders need to model resilience in their own behaviour, showing calm under pressure, maintaining a positive outlook, and demonstrating a commitment to continuous improvement. This isn't just about keeping a stiff upper lip. It's about being transparent, showing vulnerability when appropriate, and leading by example. Consider how you communicate during times of change. Are you providing clear, consistent information? Are you acknowledging the challenges while also focusing on the opportunities? Are you listening to your team's concerns and addressing them with empathy? Effective communication is essential for maintaining morale and keeping the organisation focused during turbulent times. Finally, let's talk about the importance of a supportive culture. Resilience is easier to cultivate when employees feel supported, both by their leaders and by their peers. Leaders need to create a culture where collaboration, mutual support, and well-being are prioritised. This might involve offering mental health resources, promoting work-life balance, or simply ensuring that employees have the time and space to recharge. One practical approach is to build resilience into your team structures. Encourage cross-functional teams where people from different parts of the organisation come together to solve problems and innovate. These teams not only foster collaboration, but also ensure that the organisation is more flexible and adaptable. So in conclusion, cultivating resilience in the face of constant change requires fostering a culture of continuous improvement, building adaptability into your structures and processes, modelling resilience as a leader, communicating effectively, and creating that supportive culture. By focusing on these areas, you can build an organisation that not only survives change, but thrives in it. As we've discussed today, the challenges facing transformational leaders in 2025 are significant and complex. Balancing technological disruption with human-centered leadership, navigating hybrid work models, driving authentic purpose, managing the paradox of innovation and stability, and cultivating resilience in the face of constant change. These are the challenges that will define our success. But these challenges also present incredible opportunities to lead in new ways, to innovate, to connect with our people at a deeper level, and to build organisations that are not just successful, but also resilient, adaptable, and purpose-driven. I'm Tony Lockwood, Principal Consultant with FSP, and as you leave here today, I encourage you to reflect on your own leadership journey. What steps can you take to address these challenges in your organisation? How can you engage your teams, foster innovation, drive purpose, and build resilience? The future is uncertain, but it's also full of potential. And as transformational leaders, it's our responsibility to navigate this future with vision, with courage, and a relentless focus on our people. Thank you.